Hey, good morning. Welcome to the St. Louis Kansas City Carpenters Regional Council headquarters. Today, Adolphus Pruitt heads up the St. Louis NAACP, and I are holding a press conference to dispute the opinion of the St. Louis councilor, Mr. Bush. We had our attorneys look into it, and plenty of holes in his argument. I believe it's political, and unfortunately, he's wrong, and we're going to move forward with our petition, and we anticipate to have the city voters vote on this issue on November 3rd. So with that, I'd like to turn over to my friend, Adolphus Pruitt.
Hey, thanks, Al. The initiative petition that we worked on was on June the 22nd. We submitted over 40,000 signatures to the Board of Election Commission. On July the 2nd, the Board of Election Commission verified 20,161 signatures of the petition and deemed that the petition was sufficient. They directly wrote and said, unless the proposed ordinance is without amendment, adopted in accordance with the provisions of Article 5, Section 4 of the City Charter, the Election Board will submit the proposed ordinance to the voters in the City of St. Louis at the first election at which such submission may be lawfully had. According to the Board of Aldermen, they had 60 days to adopt without amendment. If the Board of Aldermen goes into recess after its regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday the 14th, 2020, until Friday, September 11th, 2020, as such of that date of the recess, the Board of Aldermen has made it abundantly and unequivocally clear that it would not adopt the proposed petition before September the 6th, 2020. If the recess itself closes the door to the Board of Aldermen to take up our proposed petition prior to the expiration of the 60-day window, and as a result, upon the vote of the recess taken by the Board of Aldermen today, if they do such without taking any action, they will have provided that our petition will be, beyond a shadow of a doubt, placed on the ballot in November the 3rd. In addition, we did want to make one other point clear. There's been a number of individuals, both organizations and some elected, who have publicly stated that even if the petition passes, that there's no guarantee that the funds as outlined in the trust funds within our petition will go for the purposes that we've outlined in that petition. And so the opinion you have also speaks to the fact that if the Board of Aldermen passes Board Bill 71, or if our petition, once on the ballot, is approved, then those funds most definitely the expenditures of those funds most definitely become a record of law in the city charter. And we not only feel confident, but we can guarantee that the funds will be expended as they are outlined in the charter. And we can go even further and say, even if there was an attempt to do something separate and apart from what was outlined in our petition, or if Board Bill 71 happens to make it to the ballot and is approved, that we feel confident that the courts would side with us on any effort to move those funds in any different direction. And I think we ought to, at minimum, thank a legal team. You have a copy of their opinion, Stinson, Bick and Kirshner, Allinger and Associates, and Lewis Rice. In our opinion, we have the dream team of lawyers that have presented this opinion for us, and that we're confident that the opinion will stand up in any court of law in the state of Missouri and anywhere beyond that we may have to take it.
Absolutely.
Questions?
Well, I feel like you just read the instructions to us from the back of a board game on Milton Bradley, and I said, can you say that one more time? Let me ask you, just in layman's terms, like if you had to boil it down, because it's hard to describe the legal things in a way that people can grasp in 12 seconds, but why do you think Julian Bush is wrong and your side is right? Can you just give us like the main thought? What is it?
It's easy. The process that we're utilizing for our proposition is a process that has been repeatedly used in the city of St. Louis to amend the charter over and over again. And it's been done successfully without any challenges that would disrupt or make it null and void. And so why, in this particular instance, our proposition, following the same process and procedure, is deemed different, voided, or anything else, it just doesn't make any sense to me. At the end of the day, I think Al was correct, where we believe that his opinion was more politically motivated than being more accurate as relates to law. And let's be clear. Let's be real clear. His opinion basically says in so many words that the citizens of the city of St. Louis cannot make law. He deemed them not a lawmaking body. He deemed that even if they made law, that it would require not only a vote of the Board of Aldermen, but a second vote. He took away the liberty that the state constitution gave the citizens of the city of St. Louis. He tried to take all of that away with the swipe of a pen in an opinion. He's wrong. He's wrong.
Do you think Mr. Bush's opinion is influenced by politics?
Yes.
Can you give us a paragraph?
Well, I really believe that he's working for the city, and I believe that certain people, elected officials, have gotten to him and asked him to present a case that could cause some controversy or bring doubt to our petition. And we certainly did not go into this endeavor without legal advice and understanding a charter amendment. So trying to poke holes in it or say these things, absolutely, it's politically motivated.
May I ask one more question of you, Al?
Sure.
Yesterday I went to a news conference where a lot of other unions said they were against privatization because it would hurt union wages, not only at the airport, but just in the region. What is the feeling of the Carpenters Union? Why is this a good deal, but so many other unions say it's a bad deal?
Well, there's only a handful of unions, and I believe that these unions have not called me. They haven't read the charter. There's labor language that's spelled out to protect all workers working at the airport right now under collective bargaining agreements. There will be further protections if this public-private partnership is elected. I feel that the labor language is as best as it could be.
Just one follow-up, one nuance on the labor language. It was claimed yesterday that sometimes with privatization, they honor the existing labor contracts, but once they expire, those labor unions are screwed because they just bring in...
No, we, our labor language covers it. There's going to be, we're not going to allow any airport operator has to bargain faithfully when contracts expire. And we feel that the language covers this and it has merit. And I would hope that my union brothers and sisters want to take a position, they should read the labor language.
Does that include, it's like a 49-year lease potentially?
Possibly.
Would that go on for the length of the contract?
Yes. And let me be clear. There's negotiations that will go on. As Adolphus pointed out, the trust funds are in place. There's rules in regard to labor, safety, that have to be followed. This airport has to be in the top 10 airports in the world, if in a period of time. So a lot has to be negotiated, but we have 5 trust funds set up, and it's spelled out where the money goes, when it has to be spent. We have an oversight committee involved with it. So this wasn't just something we threw together. There's been a lot of thought and effort and legal advice put into this petition. And most of the naysayers are saying, you know, months ago. We had a press conference on January 6th after Mayor Cruzen decided to put an end to it. So we have been working on this for 6 months, and we feel very confident that the voters, once they understand what it is, understand the trust funds, understand the labor language, that we're going to get the votes.
Does anybody else? I just have one more. Does anybody else know what it's you represent carpenters only, or carpenters?
No, I represent, we have a wide umbrella. I represent commercial residential carpenters. I represent floor covers. I represent electricians. I represent city employees. I represent employees that work at the airport. And we have 22,000 plus members. And we feel, and this is important to know, we have to do something to turn this sinking ship around. For so many years, I'm born and raised in St. Louis, particularly in my working life, I've watched this city digress. And it's shameful, it's embarrassing. Charlotte, North Carolina, people are gonna go there instead of St. Louis. They're gonna go to Kansas City, they're gonna go to Nashville. We have to do something in this city instead of argue and take shots at each other. There's a real lack of leadership and way too many politicians in this town. 91 municipalities, 28 aldermen, whatever the number is, for crying out loud. You couldn't agree what time it is in the day. The leadership, we've heard from one business recently, Centene, Mr. Nydorf. What he said is absolutely correct, except people want to say, well, we'll do it ourselves. Well, good luck. People talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk, particularly around election time. We need new leadership in St. Louis County. We need new leadership in the city of St. Louis. And if these people just want to call names and berate people for trying to do what's good for this community, shame on them. Anybody else? Adolphus, you got anything else you want to say?
One quick thing. There's one issue that really needs to be addressed. And in some ways, there may be some hint of indifference when I hear comments about it. Because last time I heard Alderwoman Karen Spencer speak, she said, and I quote, "There's no example of privatization happening or working in the continental United States." She said in the continental United States. And she was being specific and I would say ignoring our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Puerto Rico has representation in our Congress, non-voting. And the Puerto Rico airport is governed and regulated by the FAA, just like ours in St. Louis. Puerto Rico privatized. They got $615 million up front. They get $2.5 million annually for the first 5 years. They get 5% of the gross revenue for the next 10 years. And then it jumps up to 10% of the gross revenues thereafter. When a hurricane tore the airport up, the private people rebuilt it in less than a year. And no one near can compare the condition and how Puerto Rico Airport looks and operates when it compares to Lambert. And so to say that this hasn't happened and hasn't been successful is a misnomer. And also to say that it hasn't in the continental U.S., I think it's a slight towards Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans, and we don't appreciate it. Those are our friends. They are U.S. territory. They have representation in our Congress, though non-voting, and their airport is regulated by the same federal agency as ours. And people need to understand that it has happened, and we can do what Puerto Rico has done, and they have laid out the playbook on how to make this thing happen and happen in the right way.
Can I make one more comment? You know, probably most of you fly. I fly quite often. And when I go to other airports, they're bustling and people everywhere. Flights going in and out, international flights. When I fly into St. Louis at 8:30 in the evening on any day of the week, the only people I see are the custodians mopping the floor. And that's shameful. And nobody wants to do anything about it except us. And we want to make it right. We want to bring economic development to this city and county, to the region. And the only way we're going to do that is with a public-private partnership with everything spelled out in regard to the trust funds, as I mentioned earlier, labor language. It's all there. And we got to get with the program. We're getting our ass kicked all over. Kansas City's building a new terminal. As I said earlier, Louisville, Nashville, now Charlotte, North Carolina. We used to be a top-tier airport. We're a third-tier city with a third-tier county or city airport. So thank you for coming, unless anybody has any questions.